So I feel like since 2024, we have been talking about Guyana on a weekly basis. And every time we have a conversation about Guyana, it's always about ExxonMobil and the deal that they made, the oil deal in Guyana. So the latest now is President Maduro of Venezuela vows that ExxonMobil will not be able to continue to operate in the Essequibo region peacefully. Like, they are not going to allow Exxon to continue extracting oil in that region peacefully. One of the conversations that we've been having in the comment section is that, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the deal between Guyana and ExxonMobil worth a conflict between Guyana and Venezuela? The possibility that that region could see conflict for decades, even after the oil have been completely extracted from the deal with ExxonMobil, is it worth it? And that is one of the conversations that we have been having in the comment section. And I guess this conversation is going to continue. So let's talk about it. So for more about this threat from President Maduro of Venezuela, let's take this story from First Point America, where they share a press conference with the president of Venezuela. Let's take a look.
Maduro called Exxon's oil exploration and oil extraction activities illegal, despite Exxon carrying out its operations in Guyana's territory. Maduro added that he would end all of Exxon's activities and remove their projects from the region.
Es absolutamente ilegal.
It is absolutely illegal, and Venezuela rejects and denounces it. We will take all actions to stop the illegal actions of ExxonMobil and the sellout government of Guyana. But the fascist, the criminal which supports ExxonMobil and the disastrous government of Guyana that has surrendered the sovereignty of the Guyanese people.
Now, it must be noted that ExxonMobil has an agreement with the Guyanese government for oil exploration and extraction, which is backed by the White House. The American oil giant has operations off the coast of Guyana, opposite a region called Essequibo, which is 2/3 of Guyana. However, Maduro claims that Essequibo is Venezuelan territory and has repeatedly threatened to annex the oil-rich region. Now, Exxon has been working with the Guyanese government since 2008. And the American oil giant has invested over $50 billion in the country, which includes 6 massive oil wells and dozens of oil exploration sites. Exxon also pays Guyana 2% royalty for the total oil that's produced and sold in a year. Guyana and Exxon generated nearly $7 billion in the year 2023, out of which nearly half went to Exxon. In fact, Exxon's operations have allowed Guyana to become one of the major contributors to the global crude supply chain.
Okay, so that was President Maduro from Venezuela. And it's important to point out that this is not new, that this has been something that's been going on for a while. Up to 9 months ago, like, the Venezuelan president, Maduro, sent troops close to the border of Guyana and almost escalated the situation. So this is not something that is new. This is ongoing. And I think it's safe to say that we're going to see a continued tension in the region. And I am not confident that we can trust the Americans to pretty much defend Guyana, because with the Donald Trump administration, because remember, like, this has been going on under the Biden administration. It went back to the other Donald Trump administration. This has been something that's been going on for a while. But in recent times, we have seen the escalation. And now with Donald Trump in power and Donald Trump, America first approach, I'm not sure if Guyana should be confident that America is going to have Guyanese interests, at hand, and they're going to defend the Guyanese people. So, and let's take a look at a previous report from about 9-10 months ago, where the situation was also escalated. Let's take a look.
Where there's a growing concern of military escalation. Reports backed by satellite imagery show that Venezuela is carrying out a major troop buildup on the border of Guyana. This comes as Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro scales up threats to annex the oil-rich Essequibo region, which has been part of Guyana for centuries. Venezuela's expansion of military operations has been reported in 2 areas. The first is on the western border of Guyana, on an island called Anacoco, and the second is on a small naval station called Punta Barima, just 40 miles away from Guyana's northernmost point. On the Anacoco Island, Venezuela has expanded the airfield and deployed almost a battalion of several hundred soldiers. Venezuela's operational command has ordered increased activity on the island, which is being undertaken by troops and tanks right on the border with Guyana. And to the north, Caracas has expanded the naval station, which at one time only housed just 2 patrol boats. Additionally, Venezuela has deployed several warships in the region that's now within reach of Guyana's Essequibo. The recent troop buildup has become a major concern for Guyana as tensions rise in Georgetown over the Essequibo region's security.
Okay, so that was 9 months ago when we came so close to a conflict in the region. And it's important to know, as I said, this goes way back. This conflict is going so far because we talk about the Caribbean, the history of the Caribbean. We talk about European colonizers coming into the region, different European nations like England, like Spain, like France. And we talk about also the South American region. And as we know, Guyana is one of the few English-speaking country in that region. And Guyana is one of the few that was colonized by the British government in that region. So this conflict goes way back before independence when the British government pretty much controlled that region. And the British government was the one that set the line that the conflict is about now with the Essequibo region. The British government claimed that part, that this, when, dividing up the region, this conflict was from then. So the Guyanese government, the Guyanese people inherited this with their independence. So I don't know what is going to happen eventually. And it's important to note that also CARICOM is a part of this. In particular, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is pretty much a mediator trying to make sure that this does not escalate into a full-blown war. And the Prime Minister of St. Vincent sat down a few years ago, 2023, when they met in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the President of Guyana, President of Venezuela, and the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and a few other leaders in CARICOM, where they signed the Argyle Declaration. And this is pretty much to both parties agree that, look, the last thing, this is not going to evolve into like a conflict. The last thing that we expect is for guns to be drawn, and this is going to play out the proper way. It is in the international court, and the Argyle Agreement pretty much signed off by both parties that, look, war is the last thing that we need in the region. And based on what I'm seeing in recent time is that Maduro is pretty much thinking now that the Prime Minister, that CARICOM and the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, pretty much they're on the side of Guyana and they can't be trusted. So this might be why, the escalation, we have seen the tension increase within the region. So let's take a look at the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and what he had to say about the situation.
They had an interaction with the floating production, storage, and offloading platforms. These are undoubtedly under Guyana's jurisdiction because that's for the purpose of the oil. Taking the oil out from below the seabed. And immediately the Argyle Declaration had to be activated. The Argyle Declaration works. Even after the ICJ delivers a judgment, whichever way they go, you're still going to have tensions. They may deliver a judgment sometime later this year. Or early next year. I don't know. I'm not too up to speed on the progress of the litigation, and I know they the ICJ will take some time to write the judgment and so forth, because we have this role which we are playing, and I look, I take the role seriously too.
Okay, so that was the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, and he is pretty much the mediator, the person as the elder statesman in the Caribbean. Like Ralph Gonsalves is the oldest, the longest serving leader in the Caribbean. And I think with this upcoming election, he is probably going to create history, as no one has ever served as long as Ralph Gonsalves in the Caribbean. And so he is in the middle of it. He is trying to mediate to make sure that this does not go to like a full-blown war in the region, because, you know, as you saw in that report, the Venezuela, they have 115,000 soldiers in their army in comparison to 5,000 in the Guyanese army. So that is what you call a Samson and Goliath story. And no one, I don't think anyone think that Guyana could go up against a Venezuela. So the hope is that with the Argyle agreement is that Venezuela will not try to, you know, escalate the situation into a full-blown war. Because as I said earlier, I am not sure that America would try to get involved in terms of fighting a war, because as Donald Trump stated, the last thing that they want to do is to go into a war to fight for anyone else. And we know in the Caribbean region, the Caribbean would have to get involved because, you know, a part of CARICOM, Guyana is a part of CARICOM, but the next biggest army in that region is the Jamaica Defense Force. And I don't think the Jamaica Defense Force, along with the Guyanese Defense Force and Trinidad, would be any match for Venezuelan armed forces. So we hope that this does not escalate into like a full-blown war, because it would not be good for the region. Because as I said, I don't see any way that Guyana could take on Venezuela in this. And I don't know, maybe America would get involved if, you know, something goes down and EXXON workers and the investment that they invest in that region is at risk. Maybe then America would get involved. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this so far. And one other thing that, you know, as I said, the conversation that we have been having is the juice worth the squeeze? So let's break it down. So Guyana, ExxonMobil invested, they say 50 billion. Let me pull up my numbers. They invested 50 billion in oil exploration in Guyana. And that is something, because when oil exploration is happening, sometimes it takes decades before they even know there's oil there, or is it worth it for them to start operating in your territory. So that's decades of exploration, and that costs ExxonMobil $50 billion. So the deal was now that with this deal with Guyana is that 75% of the monthly revenue from this oil now in Guyana goes back to the investment. So that initial investment of $50 billion, 75% of what is made from the oil in Guyana goes right back to paying down the debt, that ExxonMobil $50 billion debt. So that now you're now left with 25%. So 25% of whatever profit is made from this deal, the Guyanese government gets a 2% royalty from this remaining balance. At 25%, the Guyanese government receive a 2% royalty, which pretty much caught a lot of people off guard, because they're like, this cannot be a good deal. 2% royalty from the billions of dollars that's been made in Guyana. So a lot of people were not happy about this number, the 2%. But then it goes on to say that the 25% will be split 50-50 between the Guyanese government and ExxonMobil. So I don't know what are your thoughts about that. Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that. So 75% goes back to paying down the debt that ExxonMobil accrued in terms of the exploration, which is reasonable. I don't know if the 75% is reasonable, but you would think that if they spend decades exploring this option and they spend so much money, there's a possibility that this $50 billion could have gone down the drain if they had invested the $50 billion and turned up that, okay, there's not enough oil there worthwhile, so we're going to abort this deal. So that could have been something also, but they spend that $50 billion. So do you think that it's reasonable that 75% of whatever is made from Guyana goes back automatically to pay down that $50 billion? And what do you think about the 2% royalty and also the government of Guyana and ExxonMobil splitting the remaining 25%, 50-50? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. And then we're going to break down some of the numbers over the years since this deal was made. Here at Carib 21, I'm on a mission to showcase the vibrant culture and the breathtaking beauty of the Caribbean while showcasing our culture and what is trending. If you want to support me on this mission, please subscribe. And if you also want to support, you can hit the comment section and buy me a cup of coffee. In order to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow these instructions. Just click more. You will see the link to buy me a cup of coffee. Click the link. You can purchase 1 or 2 cups of coffee and you'll be helping me to fulfill this mission. Thank you. Okay, so I don't want this to get too long and dragged out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the numbers for 2023, the numbers that came out of Guyana. So the numbers that came out of Guyana. So in 2023, it was said that ExxonMobil, I'm going to give you the profit that was made. So ExxonMobil received $2.7 billion in profit from this deal in 2023. And the government of Guyana received $1.6 billion in revenue from this agreement. And that included the 2% on royalty. So Exxon walked away with, as I said, $2.7 billion and the government of Guyana $1.6 billion, including that 2% royalty. So let me know in the comment section, do you think that, $1.6 billion, in 2023, and I'm sure it could continue to go up with the years coming, like 2024, 2025, that we could see an increase in how much the government would make from this deal. But in your opinion, do you think that this deal was worth it in terms of the deal with ExxonMobil and the conflict that it could cause in the region? And there are some people that are reacting to this and was saying that Guyana should have kept the American company Exxon out of this, and they should have probably made a deal with Venezuela and both of them share the wealth. So tell me what are your thoughts about that also? And what is interesting about this deal that could be a good deal is that at the back end of the deal, after the 75% that goes to pay down the $50 billion, after that, I would say probably 10, 15, 20 years, and that is paid off, then this deal could look different in terms of the 50-50. We would see Guyana making a substantial amount of money out of this deal. We would see the deal go up from $1.5 billion to, I would say, probably $5-6 billion a year at the back end of this deal. So it could turn out to be a good deal maybe 10, 15 years from now. So sound off in the comment section and let me know your thought about what is going on in the region with Venezuela and Guyana. Do you think that Venezuela and Guyana could have sat at the table and work out a deal and keep an American company out of the region, and they would go ahead and do the oil exploration themselves and share the profit? Do you think that that would have been the better option? Or do you think that, look, this is Guyanese territory and they can do whatever they want, and that Venezuela is in the wrong to try and to pretty much force a conflict in the region? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.